Welcome! I'm your host, Nancy Burdick, and this is So Many Possibilities, a new program focused on what's going on in the local fiber arts scene. Whether you're a maker who prefers the solitude of your home studio or a crafter who thrives on the energy of a group, we hope these episodes inspire you to try something new or make more time to get back to something you love. In this episode, we showcase several community art quilt projects that the Marathon Quilters Guild have spearheaded over the last 30 years. The primary purposes of the Guild, which is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation, are to educate, inspire, and participate in community quilting projects for charities. Our fairly small membership represents all styles and methods of quilting, and we're always learning something new with outside and in-house experts in a variety of the fiber arts. We open with Guild member Jean Bertschmann taking us through the history and the process of the Hopkinton Library Heritage Quilt, which has been on display in the lower level of the Hopkinton Library since 2017. The quilt was part of a library expansion fundraising effort coordinated by the Hopkinton Public Library Foundation.
Hi, I'm Jean Bertschmann. I am here with the Hopkinton Public Library Heritage Quilt, which is a quilt that many of the members of the Hopkinton Marathon Quilt Guild worked on almost 8 years ago now as a fundraiser for the public library when they were undergoing their renovation and expansion. And so we started this project for a lot of reasons. One, we all love the library. It's really the center of our community and has been for more than 100 years. They were actually having their anniversary at the same time that the town was celebrating its 300th anniversary. So a lot of nice pieces of history were kind of coming together. So also in quilting, there is a long history of women doing quilts for their community and with their community. And so we wanted to honor that and also be of service to the library as it was working to raise money for its expansion. So out of all of that, this quilt idea was born, and you can see, I know you can't see all of it, so I hope you'll come down and take a look at it in the resource room of the library. But it's designed to look like a bookshelf, and all of the donors and other people who are being honored are they're recorded on the spine of the book. So there are a couple of things that that will sort of help you understand what went into the quilt. The third shelf, when you come down, you'll see that all of the fabric is all from the same line. It's got a little it's supposed to look like a little band on the bottom of the book that all line up in there. It was intentional because that is the book that honors the original donors to the library. And if you don't know the story of how the library was founded, you really should look into it. I think that they raised the money. I'm going to say this wrong, but it was within a very, very short time frame, and they were able to get a matching grant, and it was an incredible and quick effort by people in the town who are really committed to raising funds for the library. So they are all honored on that shelf. Their names are there, and the font is a little bit more of a script, so it's supposed to look a little bit older and more historic. And I think there are a couple of photos on here of the library during its several different iterations, the original library, the original church. So those photos sort of capture the history of the library as well. And then for the project itself, first of all, the library staff was so incredible. Susan Marshall, who was here at the time, really spearheaded this effort, but all of the people who worked at the circulation desk were fantastic about helping facilitate people coming in and writing what they wanted to have on their spine and taking their money. And the Library Foundation, Katie Davenport and Laura Berry in particular, did a ton of work to help us with this. And they were so considerate and thoughtful as they were designing the library about reserving a spot to hang this quilt, which we felt very honored by. So we started with the founders, and then we also invited local and regional and national, actually, authors. So when you're looking at the quilt, you'll see some of the spines are handwritten, and those are authors. So we have some very internationally known authors like Geraldine Brooks and Laura Hillenbrand. And then we also have a lot of local authors, Ted Reidenstein, several people who wrote books about Hopkinton. As I said, we were celebrating, or just about to celebrate, the 300th anniversary as well. So all of that is reflected in the books where there's handwriting on the spine. And then the other books are all of the donors who donated to this particular project. And so some people, there are some really fun book club names on here. There are family names. There are spines, books that were donated in honor of family members or people who had given back to the community. Some of our local representatives, Carolyn Dykema, Karen Spilka, are on here. So we really had very broad support and participation, and it was really a great project to be involved in. So from the quilting aspect, the way that the project went was we spent a lot of time sort of figuring out how we wanted it to be organized, and then how we were going to, what size should the shelves be. And actually one of our members, Lima Whitty, is very meticulous, and so she got some proportion that was going to be very appropriate to an actual bookshelf, and did a lot of math that was beyond the rest of us. So ultimately, and this was the best way for a lot of our quilters to be involved, and also people who are not in the Quilt Guild but just wanted to be part of it. We taught them how to do this. It was pretty simple. So people would make the books. When people donated, they printed what they wanted. And then we have fabric actually that runs through an inkjet printer like you have in your house. And we printed everything on that fabric, cut the fabric out and use that to make the spine. So that's all of the, the donors to this project are all reflected that way. And then it was just a lot. We really wanted it to be, eclectic and diverse, and it's just scrap fabrics from all of our bins, and it's not all, matchy-matchy the way the historical section is on the quilt. And so we looked forever, and I hope my husband's not watching this, because I bought a lot of samples of fabric that I thought looked like a wood grain that didn't make it into this quilt. But so the fabric itself for the shelving, if you look up close, looks like a wood grain. And then our very talented machine quilters, Lima Whitty and Kelsey Ullman, if you come, you got to get your nose right up into it. They quilted more wood grain into the wood of the shelf. So it really is meant to look like a bookshelf. And quilted around each individual book. So it was a tremendous amount of fun. It was a lot of time and effort, but it was a great project. We learned a lot from making this quilt that helped us in some other community projects, especially the 300th anniversary quilt, which is hanging at the Hopkinton Historical Society. We learned so much about transferring photos onto fabric through this project that really helped us then with the next project. And if you go and check that quilt out, you'll see there are dozens more photos on that one than there are in this one. But so it was a great way to start. It was a huge honor. We would sometimes just get a surprise in the mail of a really, national or international author sending us their signature because somebody in Hopkinton had a connection to them, and it was so exciting. And then also just to hear the stories about locally why people were donating in honor of someone that was important to them, or how excited their family was to be able to come and see their names here reflected. It's sort of like the bricks on a playground that you get to visit it when you come to the library. And the library, I think, just at the end of the day, it really demonstrated to us how important the library is to the town, and we were really, really proud to be able to do this. And we're honored that they hang it. It's under this nice fire retardant glass, so it should remain intact for centuries to come. And I think the final thing that I really wanted to share is that, this is a great way also to record history. And so it's right here in front of your face. You can learn a lot about the original library. You can learn a lot about the new library. And, there is a lot of history that can be learned from studying quilts far beyond this one. So that was something that was important to us as well.
We caught up with Kelly Grill, Executive Director of the Hopkinton Center for the Arts, and learned more about the unique relationship the Guild shares with the HCA and how the Farmhouse Patchwork Quilt fits into the HCA's Patchwork and Pavers fundraiser programs. Thank you for meeting me here in front of this beautiful quilt that the Marathon Quilters have put together for the community, a fundraiser for the community. So Kelly, can you talk a little bit about the time of our relationship, Marathon Quilters, with the Center for Cultural Arts and now the Hopkinton Center for the Arts?
So I remember the days when all we had for a art show performance, art show space was the farmhouse, and you all would come in with your gorgeous quilts, and it literally blanketed the entire first floor of the farmhouse. It was quite a feat for you to all to do that, and it was wonderful. I remember people would coming in, taking a look at the quilts, and it actually did feel like a blanket. It was very cozy in there as we would walk around and looking at all the beautiful quilts until 2015 or 16 when we opened our performance space. And then someone came up with a brilliant idea to be able to hang the quilts. It was the first time we'd ever done anything like that. And we had you all here hanging the quilts from the rafters, so people were literally able to walk around and see them, fully unfurled. It was absolutely gorgeous, and we love having you come back every other year to show all the incredible work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. I began quilting in the farmhouse. I took a class that was offered, beginning quilting, I think, and Jean Bertschmann was the teacher. So 15 plus years later, here I am, and I'm part of the Marathon Quilters. And right now we're standing in the Lotvin Gallery space, which is where we've been fortunate enough to have a juried quilt show a few times, which is astounding. You're suddenly a quilter, and then you're an artist on display. And then our biennial quilt show in the Delbridge Family Performance Space is magical. The work that Colleen Barnes, member of the Guild, has put in to suspend the quilts from the ceiling is so impressive. We have people come from all around to view the show, and some even join the Guild because they like the space, they like what we've done, they like our work, and they want to know more. So we're looking forward to continuing our relationship with you and any other opportunity that we have to support you, such as the annual wreath event, if you can explain that, and also how you help us with the communication with the Hopkinton Chamber of the Arts, Caroling on the Common or Holiday on the Common, please.
Absolutely, yes. So we love the partnership with the Guild, and you all have come. You've come sometimes to our summer concerts and had a little booth there with all the beautiful things you have. We've done a number of holiday boutiques. This year we're going to be doing it again on December 3rd. I have some artisans here during the stroll, and we'll have all of you here in the gallery with some beautiful handcrafted, from quilts to jewelry to clothing. And also, we love all of the different ways that we partner with groups like yours, but particularly because of the history of the Marathon Quilters and the fact that you have been here from the beginning. It's very, very special to us. And the fact that there are so many incredibly talented artists, you are artists, that come in and show your talent through these gorgeous quilts. I'm always amazed at how different each one is, at the volume of quilting that you all do in just a few years. And people do come from all around. I had my college roommate who lives in Rhode Island and just happened to be watching the site, and she's a quilter, and I didn't even know that. And so that's the one show a year that she comes up to see. How do you think? So the website's hopartcenter.org, and we will have the quilt up through the end of the year. Our hope is to finish it by the end of the year and then hang it either in the farmhouse or here in the barn, wherever it is the most visible. We want everybody to see all the amazing people and designs and this incredible work that Jean Bertram did so many years ago. So this beautiful quilt was made by Jean Bertram back when the Cultural Arts Alliance was an organization here, and we're raising funds to renovate the barn to be into an art center. And the idea was each square In order to have your family name or a quote on the square, it's $100. And if all the squares were filled in, it would mean $10,000 for the farmhouse project. So somehow the project got started and the quilt ended up being tucked away for a number of years. And as we are now, almost 20 years later, renovating the farmhouse itself, it came out again. And so all the funds raised through this incredible quilt project will go toward the new ceramic studio and music studios that were just renovated. And then the best part will be it will be hung permanently at the Art Center.
Our final piece in this episode showcases the 2021 Marathon Quilters Quilt Show Community Art Project Quilt and how the Guild involved the community to create the Pandemic Lemonade Quilt, which has been donated to raise spirits and funds for a very worthy cause. Pauline Chiarapa is using the Pandemic Lemonade creation for an opportunity drawing for those who support her Jimmy Fund Walk team effort in memory of her daughter, Corinne.
We're here with the Marathon Quilters Pandemic Lemonade quilt that we created during the pandemic, or during the time we were sequestered, and it includes the positives that people had to share throughout their time. So as we had intended, we moved it on for a nonprofit or charitable donation, and it's in the hands of Pauline now. And Pauline is using it to raise awareness as well as fundraising dollars for her Jimmy Fund team. And I have it here at the Westboro Farmers Market. We were able to catch her at the last showing of the market for the fall. And Pauline, can you just share with us how people are responding to this opportunity for your opportunity drawing to raise funds for your team?
We've had a really great outpouring of support for this. I'm going to call it an initiative. It's something that we've never tried before in our fundraising, and I wasn't quite sure how it would go, but we've raised over $400 so far. Although this is the last showing of it here, we have a few other events that we'll be bringing it to, and I'm optimistic that we'll get, additional funds for this. So it's been a great boost, and we're grateful. The different responses from people upon seeing the quilt, it's just amazing to see.
So you've had the quilt for a few months. I had it for about a year at my home. It went from piecing the individual blocks with people's positives, if you will, to building out the pattern, to assembling the top, to then quilting it. It's been on display at the Westboro Library. It's been on display in the Hopkinton Library. It was at the Hopkinton Center for the Arts. So people who participated could see the finished product. I think the book that you have with the square sentiments or positives is about 178 pages in there. So it's definitely a community project, which is why we used it as our community art project in our 2021 quilt show.
We rely on community support for our Jimmy Fund Walk. We walk in honor and in memory of Corinne. Corinne was 18 years old when she died from a rare form of childhood cancer called alveolar rhabdomyosarcoma. Corinne passed in 2019. We already had a walk team, which we named Chiarapa Strong. And all of the funds that we raise go to research for cancers with a similar profile to the one that Corinne had. It's such a rare cancer that we didn't want it to focus just on her cancer, and I believe that she would want us to have it affect more people. Corinne had been accepted to Northeastern University, where she was going to study cell and molecular biology. She was a hardworking student, despite having had cancer her entire high school career. So I'm grateful to be able to share this quilt and honored to be able to raise funds to help find a cure so that other children and other families don't have to suffer the way that Corinne did and the way that our family and community has done since Corinne passed.
Thank you very much, Pauline. We will make sure to share the contact information for your Jimmy Fund Walk Team website, and they'll be able to learn a little bit more about your efforts to raise awareness as well as funds for research and blood drives.
Here's a short how-to on making a free pattern called Plaid-ish using your scrap fabrics. Today's how-to is my process for making the scrap quilt Plaid-ish that I found on Instagram. It was developed by Erica Jackman for kitchen table quilting. It's a free pattern, and the link to the pattern will be available at the end of this episode. So this quilt combines the topics of value, dark value fabrics, mid-value fabrics, and light value fabrics. I'm not an art teacher, I'm just learning as I go, but I do understand dark, medium, and light. So I looked at the instructions, and the instructions encourage you to use scrap fabrics, scrap clothing, scrap textiles, whatever you've got left over, or you can use yardage. And as I say, the instructions for the specific cuts are in the directions. But you're going to make 3 different types of blocks: a dark block, a light block, and a medium or mid-range block. And so here is a sample of a dark block. It's got 4 dark pieces, and it's put together with this cross built of medium and lights. Here's an example of what they call a light block. Again, 4 quadrants of light fabric with a mixture of dark and mediums to put them all together. And then the last sample is mid-range or medium fabrics with dark and light. You make the required number of blocks, and the way you lay them out actually creates the Plaid-ish pattern. As you can see behind me, this is a light block. Here's another light block, a medium block, and a dark block. So it's something you can put together over the course of time. You may have some fabrics. You may say, oh, that's a dark one, that's a dark one. Collect them in a bag, cut them down to size, and save them until you've got all of the numbers that you need to make this particular quilt. It's a 64 by 82, so it's several rows by several columns. But you can make any size that you want as long as you stick to focusing on darks, mediums or mid-range, and lights. So I hope you'll give it a try. It's not that hard. Thanks for watching. I hope you were inspired by the fundraising quilts you saw in this episode. If you want to learn more about the programs and activities offered through the Hopkinton Public Library, the HCA, or the Marathon Quilters, please visit their websites for more information. Additional information on the fundraising opportunities showcased in this episode will be accessible in the credits. Volunteering time and talent are things everyone can consider offering. There are so many possibilities.
Did you know only 34% of children are highly resilient? That means 66% of kids aren't able to cope with and quickly overcome challenges. These findings come from the Cigna Resilience Index, the largest U.S. survey on resilience. Unfortunately, challenges facing children are on the rise. From academics to sports to social pressures, our kids are facing adversity at an alarming rate. For example, social media has changed the way children communicate. This can negatively impact children's confidence and perceptions of themselves. That's why raising a resilient kid is more important than ever. The MRP Project's Raising Resilient Kids program is for parents who want to ensure their child can positively and productively overcome life's obstacles. The series lays the foundation for resilience by arming parents with the tools needed to help kids cope with adversity.
In the 6-week series, we'll highlight the essential role obstacles play in children's development. The facilitators discourage parents from trying to fix problems. Instead, we discuss specific behaviors, thoughts, and actions to help children work through specific situations. We'll provide strategies that can be used to help deal with similar situations in the future. We also spend time during the first couple of sessions discussing ourselves and our own resilience. This is an important aspect to our curriculum, as it is critical for us as parents to be resilient. We can't expect our children to be resilient unless we're modeling resilient behaviors for them. Each class focuses on one topic, and the facilitators provide time for problem solving and group discussions. Participants can support each other, share lessons learned, discuss experiences, and learn from one another.
One of our recent participants said, and I quote, "Raising Resilient Kids was a wonderful series that I am so happy I had the opportunity to participate in. Through this series, I gained new strategies to work with my own children through situations that in the past have felt overwhelming to me. I walked away from this series with new language to use with my children and to help guide them through situations they may encounter in everyday life growing up. I am truly grateful for the discussions, encouragement, and guidance that this series provided. I'd encourage any parent to participate in the MRP's Raising Resilient Kids. If you want to sign up, please visit the mrpproject.org/raisingresilientkids.
This is Kathy Young. Our family has lived in Hopkinton for about 8 years. So a couple of years ago, my kid pushed me to do the home composting. And I reluctant doing so because of the too much extra work. Of course, I got the lectures from my kid and we started doing it. And I'm really surprised that how much trash has been reduced just by simply doing the composting. 2/3 of my trash were gone. Since then, I got into learning about and advocating for the sustainability, and I joined the Sustainable Green Committee to work alongside others, contributing into all these aspects. So I was really inspired by the new generation and welcome more young people join the efforts.